Hello, welcome to Lackluster Reactions. I'm your Lackluster Reactor, here today for another episode of The Owl House. In fact, the final episode of The Owl House. And with it, of course, I bring computer troubles. So, apparently my computer microphone hasn't been working since at least midnight last night when I tried to record this episode as it premiered. And I've been using this microphone, which I originally got because I thought it might improve sound quality a bit, which, no, not very noticeable, but better. And then I stopped using because it kept picking up the sound from my computer and therefore was getting me some copyright flags. So, and guess what happened when I did my second attempt to try to record this? So, long story short, I am currently have watched the episode 2 times by myself. Some of the big names, not most of them, some of the big names of the community have posted their videos at this point, and I've of course watched them. So I've gone through multiple times, but I can still talk about my own observations. I can talk about some of the things that I will most likely spitball to add into my end of series review. And either way, I just want to. Well, I've watched this episode multiple times already, and I'm not tired of it. Though I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to cry like I did the first 2 times, but either way. Without further ado, let's try to actually get through this, shall we? Why? So for reference of what I am doing, I have muted the sound on the show while also using subtitles because I double checked the subtitles and they seem good enough. So also looking through the subtitles, apparently the official name of the Titan is Papa Titan. So also, yes, I did notice the hootie coming out of the eye. We'll talk about that and some stuff that doesn't get mentioned later on, but for right now, the main focus is, of course, the nightmares of 3 are having, which, while they're not that hard to decipher, first we have Luce, who's been down on herself, thinking that she messed up and that makes her as bad as Belos. And therefore, here she is, dressed as the Emperor, because that's how warrior she is. And she also has those that are close to her come here to call her the villain, because that's what she's been worried about being this whole time. Next we have Ida, which, first say hello to the confirmatorium. Been a while since we've been here, but either way. Of course, the collector couldn't have used Rain since their puppet is indisposed. So instead, we've already covered a lot of Ida's traumas, and one of her main ones is her family. Her fighting with the family and her being estranged from her family because of what she did as the Owl Beast, and what she worries she will do again if she lets herself go wild like that. And then we have King, who's has recently learned he's a Titan, has recently learned that the place they were just were was of people who slaughtered Titans and kept them as trophies. So since the collector couldn't use his family as people to manipulate as puppets, this is the next best thing. But now going back to Luz, through this entire sequence we see just how hard she is on herself and how much she blames herself for everything that's gone wrong. Whether it's true or not, which most of it is not, of course, but she has her girlfriend and the person closest to her, the person she reads her favorite books with, call her a villain. She has Willow, a person that she met when Willow was at her lowest, and help her gain confidence and grow. Tell her that she's the one responsible for not having a future. That she's the one who threw it all away. We have Gus here, who it's a stage because he's the most dramatic of them, and being delusion mage, and also bring up the insecurity about them taking them away from their parents. And finally we have the fresh runes of Flapjack, and which is just one of many representations of her feeling that she's been sacrificing those around her and what they're happy about in order to fulfill her own goals. Which is the last thing she wants to do, because that's what Bellows does. And of course, the thread that makes everything come undone comes from Azura, and her knowing Amity well enough to know that she wouldn't make a small mistake like this. I feel I should have grabbed some water before this episode. Again, I've already cried through half an episode twice, so I apologize if I start coughing. My throat is kind of a little dry. But either way, the answer to the problems goes back to Lightcliff, which I think is a nice touch, it being the first thing that Luz learned that allowed her to reach where she is, but also it gives more utility to the Lightcliff, which hasn't been used as much as the others. You know, one thing I just realized, to get those two, then the collector would have had to go across the world to get them. Which is not impossible to do, but why would he do that? If it was to play with King, I would see it, but they were specifically mean to King, so it probably wouldn't be the first decision that the collector would make. Either way. And now here we see why the collector is not going to be that difficult to flip. Why he's not that much of a villain. He's, as has been said multiple times by multiple people, he's just a child. He's trying to play, but he doesn't realize that he's hurting other people. So he doesn't want to destroy or crush the others. He wants to do what he can to be friends with them. So, well, Bellows doesn't care about them. He just wants to destroy them. But the main point is that the collector is not predisposed to doing bad things. He just does them without realizing them. So, in the end, having him learn his lessons from Ida and Luz and King, will be enough to switch him to the doing right and not being a force of destruction. This is also another great thing when you think about it, because he tried insulting them by calling them spiders, but spiders are one of the most commonly outcasted animals. A lot of people being scared of spiders, so us realists gonna stick together. Insulting spiders and it just being brushed off as something they're used to. Plus, spiders are one of the animals that are tangentially related to Luz. There's, of course, more obvious ones like snakes or bats, but she's gotten in trouble with spiders before. And well, now that about the part I just talked over, they've established it's going to be three things, but the first two of the three things that the collector needs to learn in order for them to solve this problem. Which, first off, he needs to learn to show empathy, that realize that he is hurting others, and it's not a good thing to do to continue to do what he's doing. And the second is, of course, he has to learn what death is and what loss is. Because Immortal God, has experienced that before. So he needs to experience it from others for him to actually learn that things die. And once they die, they can't come back as easily as a snap of his fingers to heal a toy. One thing that I've mentioned in the other takes that I want to mention here, I realize that it's not the Owl House's crew's fault that they didn't add a bridge time, but it's one of the things I would have liked to see is this scene taking more time to more give a reason for the collector to go from trying to force them to play his games to going to mope, which he's a kid, so the mood change isn't that out of place, but there could have been more reasons added for him to go from point A to point B instead of just giving up on his games. Start the process of talking him down, is what I'm saying. But again, crew only had limited space. All we can do is dream what we would get for a 20 episode season. And here we're getting another reason of why the collector can be redeemed, being that he didn't do as much wrong. He wanted to play with the Titans. He was sent there by his older brothers to just play, but then his brothers took away the Titans because they were dangerous, and then the one remaining one, seeing only him, assumed that he was the one responsible and punished him for it, even though he wasn't the one at fault. So that's one of the three big things that he's not responsible for. The second big thing, as he explained, the Titan Trappers. The way they talked, it was like they were following his orders and his will to hunt and kill Titans, but the collector, as he pointed out, they went off the rails. That Death of Titans was never what he wanted, so he's also clear of that, which leaves the only major thing that he has done wrong to be the draining spell. So the draining spell was unequivocally something he did wrong, and he should face some consequences for that. But on the other hand, everyone in the cast has messed up multiple times, and they've had to live up to the consequences of their actions. So it's not like getting some sort of punishment for what he's done wrong will preclude him from being an ally in the end. It's really just a point where it's too big. And stopping the draining spell doesn't preclude the fact that he's the one who designed it, so in the first place. So the weakness of a bard. They need some sort of medium to use their powers. All they can to try to obtain victory, but all it takes is one bit of plague, one bit of a parasite for it to infect the system and tear it all down. So you fought well, Wayne, but Now I can attribute this one to me, but this is one that some other reviewers pointed out already, but this is the first time Amity's managed to draw a perfect circle. We're actually beginning to see it later, but during this downtime, one thing I would like to point out how much I like the details is looking at the design of the moss muck stuff that Bellows is spreading across the Titan, which, if you look, it's a lot of the designs are based off of, well, not sea plants. There, lots of them aren't plants, but sea creatures like coral or the tube things that I will definitely need to look up the name for before I do my full review at the end. But the tube things that you see in ocean settings, usually red. You know what I mean. And then we also get to see the opposite later on, which is the red grass-like substance that comes from Luz and her fighting back. Which also need to look that up. See if it is also something aquatic or whether it's is just red grass, which would split the details between Bellows' spread and the counter spread. But here's a point that the collector's pointing out, which is briefly mentioned later but doesn't go into detail on, and I think it needs a specific to go into specific detail, which is that the Titan is the one who taught the glyphs. Which explains why they were spread like they were. So, quick shout out to the Titan breathing, though I'm not going to dwell on it since we don't get to hear it this time. But which is why Bellows was unable to learn the light one. He managed to track down and consume the Eddas, but the light was always beyond him. Hello, Tiny Nose. Why the collector was unable to learn them because the Titan was against him. And why they came to Luz because she was kind. She wanted to learn magic. She saw the world as an adventure and loved every minute of it. And the Titan welcomed her by giving her magic. Especially potent since it was her son she was friends with and kind to. So. A quick shout outs as well, not really a shout out, but quick food for thought. As someone who does some stuff on the side that involves dragons, I wonder what kind of dragon would have moss as a breath weapon. But either way, this is the third lesson that the collector needs to learn, which is that, yeah, being forgiving and kind are not bad things, but that some people won't deserve it, that just saying that your friends, just saying that everything's good, that doesn't make them a better people. Some people don't deserve the kindness. And as we talk about lessons, of course I need to point out the typical flag of main character temporarily dies in the last episode only to come back later, which we all knew it was coming when we first watched this scene, but still hurts. Every time it's light. Okay, I said the subtitles were good, but it seems that there's some deleted spots, but regardless, I know where the things that I actually want to say are, so. I also like how Camilla knows. If only it worked like that. The one thing I do have to say about this is that, well, I also need to mention the anger designs of both King and the Albies, Ida, but one thing I need to point out about this is that this does help the collector learn his lesson about how people who are dead can't come back to life, but we're teaching him the lesson with someone who is going to come back to life, so might not be the best situation to base the lesson off of, but guess it works. And of course, in between is the place where spirits go. You can thank me later. And now we have the man of the hour. Not Hooty, but the Titan. Though him having Hooty as, well, first comment on his fashion sense. He's killing it in the Bad Girl Kevin shirt, but seeing Hooty right there as one of his eyes raises several questions that may or may not be answered in some theories proposed, but we don't actually get any of them answered, so unfortunately, we don't get much Hooty this episode, which, as one of my favorite characters, is disappointing, but nah, that's one of the questions left hanging that we'll never know, because, again, rushed. Though you've all probably heard it thousands of times already and don't want me to keep repeating it, but one of the possibilities is not likely because he's using the boxes to see what King's doing and not doing it through Hooty's eyes, so. Still so many questions. one of the most important things to say in this episode is, yeah, Belos is 100% different from the two of them because, well, when going back to the classic tabletop alignments, more selfless actions are most likely to do good. Sometimes you mess up, but it leans in that direction. And most selfish actions lean towards evil. Sometimes they can have accidental good consequences, but most of the time they happen because at the expense of others. But I really like this and the Titan's last line that he said right there, which is that the reason Luz is here is not because of some grand destiny. It's not because it's preordained, but she was the one who came. She was the one who loved Yalin. She was the one who cared for the people around her and helped them when they were in need. And in turn, it's what eventually led Luz to this place at this time, where she's the only one who can take the powers. She's not here because of some grand machinations. She's here because every choice she's made her closer to here. And because she's a good person, she's going to become a witch. She's always wanted. The importance of bringing moms along on the benches. That's also basically my family's motto, so. I think that's one of the most I'm not sure what to use would be, but it's what shows the collector has already officially learned from them is that he's never cried before, and he's finally connected with other people enough to cry. So now he has a chance to prove himself and do his best. And with that said, props to Luz's tightened outfit, which both shows a bit of dark witchness while also having some details reminiscent of Titans, the claws and the bone-ish appendages, the horns. Yeah, that's a tough one. You plan for dramatic lines with various contingencies, but coming back from the dead is usually the one you overlook. This part and the upcoming fight scene, I think it shows very much something important about what's going on with Luz and everything that's happened so far. It's the last few episodes, because of everything with Belos, everything going wrong, Luz has becoming more and more depressive about everything happening around them. And this is the end of most of the fights, but here we have them laughing, mentor-student relationships about which allow Luz to actually cast magic. We have both of them, both her and King, doing the Titan scheme together, and everything they're doing, it's clear that they're enjoying themselves. Like that smile and that nuzzle, it's for the first time in a long time, Luz is enjoying herself. Also, quick shout out here to how every combined magic we've had so far, it's been a dance. But yeah, it's Luz originally came here and stayed here because it was everything she dreamed of. It's everything she wanted to do, and for a while she lost that, but now she has it back. That's It shows that as bad as things have been for the last few episodes, Luz is okay now. And going back to them having fun, this being up here is entirely pointless. There's no reason to go into the sky, but at the same time, especially since the place they're going back to was where they started, but it's a nice view. That's what matters. And the biosac. Don't forget the biosac. Beautifully fluffy. But she's not alone, is she? It's almost time, everyone. So get ready to say it with me. Now eat this, sucker! It's had so many good callbacks. Some of them I caught, some of them I know are callbacks, but I have no idea what they're calling back to, which we'll be getting to soon on one of those, but... And so ends the ambition of Belos. He reached for the sky, but couldn't even keep his hold on the land. Like so many controlling people before him. And with that, we've officially defeated the Collector. Not in some pitched battle, but by making him realize that other people matter, and then putting him into a position where he proves that he's changed, and therefore they reach out a hand to help him. Which is all he really needed. All he's ever wanted was friends, and he has them now. Now, just one thing to tie up. Belos went in the corner, does what he's always done, and lie. Blames magic. He appeals, he claims that everything that he's done wrong, it's not been his fault, in order to gain sympathy and get others on his side. That's also another detail that I love, is how the rain isn't affecting Luz. But I think one thing that stands out the most is this line from Belos right here, which is where he calls others bad and conniving and evil, but he was the one who's been doing wrong this entire time, not them. All this time he's projected his... Not even projected, he's seen negatives in all other people, while he himself has been the worst of the people there. But with one death comes another. See you later, Papa Titan. You did good. And while I miss the back, which white looks good on her too. The classic Azor uniform. And with that, yeah. I'm forgetting something from probably one of the more filler-y episodes that's a callback to, but yeah, don't have that off the top of my head. But with that, that's the episode. Now all we have is not one, but two epilogues. We got bats and cats sighting. Thank you, he sold them himself. And the return of the legendary Principal Belos. Hair and all. That's one thing I would have liked. That's another thing I'd like to have seen more of. We actually getting to meet the Edo Coven heads. Some of them maybe not as necessary, but I would have liked to at least meet this potions guy. Has a great design. Another cat sighting. We welcome you to the cats as well. Also glad to see we replaced the couch with something comfier. I'm sure I'm sure there was multiple people watching that squealing, but the mothers get to meet. Watching the kiss squealing. I'm not as much a shipper. I like the relationship, but I'll save the fangirling to other people. And this is the Hootie we get. It's great to see him, but don't get much of him nor any explanation about anything. I also like the look of utter disgust on Amity's face. That is what sells it. And yeah, so many questions about Hootie, especially raised with him being potentially the eye of the Titan, but nothing is resolved at all. Which, for the third time, is not the crew's fault. It's that everything was limited because of Disney's decision, but yeah. Said enough times. With that, the conflict's resolved. Story arc's over. Chapter in the life checked off. So, but yeah. Thanks to the Titan being there for her, she found a place in the world. And she became the hero she wanted to be. And now with Epilogue 1 done, we have Epilogue 2, which is Time Skip. Also, other people pointed these out before I noticed them myself, so. But Luz and all the others have a red bird tattoo, which is Flapjack. Why? All of them, of course. You know, considering what university that is for, I think I might need to actually pause on that in the future and add those analysis of that to my final review. Also, big thanks for the collector for smoothing over plot holes and making things much more convenient than they would have been any other way. And he did become a Palisman Carver. Also, shout out to Bat Babies. We get the Bat Babies. Goodbye, Flapjack. And we have Amity here with her new job. The job of her dreams. Pirate. Yes, Bartholomew, we see you. Now here's Hexside, where we get to see some of the secondary characters in a new job, and Principal Bump in retirement. And deserves it. Now, I promised myself last time that next time I watched this, I would focus on the title of this building, since I overlooked it both times, but glad to see that they're using their combined tech to heal all the wounds that have been left by Bello, not just the physical ones on the land. Oh, hospital. Okay. My first guess would have been the new Blight Industries workshop, but no. It's the hospital, which, after Bellows, they need. University of Wild Magic. And what would this place be without an anti-authoritarian authority figure? Also like how it's KC for King Clawthorn. Yeah. Everything perfect. I see no problems with that. And as for the dress, that looks lovely. There's absolutely that dress I could use. Someone else could use. Also, Steve loves the spiders. That's nice to see. Also, shout out to the new light glyph, looking a bit like a witch with two horns. That might just be my overanalyzing that. I'll have to look through it more when I actually prepare for the full review, but weirdos. Bye. Sad to see you guys go. But you did a great job. But either way, I said most of what I wanted to say during the actual episode. If there's anything else, I'll think it through and have it in my review of the show, which it deserves. It was one of the best cartoons in the last few years, and it deserves to continue to be remembered by its fans, and hopefully it's one of those that keeps getting recommended to the next generation, because there's going to be a lot of people who need this. But anyway, thank you everyone who stopped by and watched this episode with me. I hope you all have a good week, a good month, whatever amount of time it is between now and when you watch another episode of something I'm watching. I look forward to the next episode of several shows. Tomorrow I'm going to have an episode of one of my regular shows, so. And whatever the next show people decide to pop on for, I hope they do stop by and watch it with me. But regardless, take care everyone.